the nice place to play cricket, and I enjoyed cricket playing in New Zealand.
And I think he scored the fastest 50, 18 balls or something.
Dara's World Cup payback with Bristol and Live Guard. Live from the Cricket Club Cafe. Official travel partner, Classic Travel. Official website partner, Quickwire. Official TV partner, Dialogue TV. Dara's World Cup payback.
We've got lots to do on the show. Right now, we're actually going to be crossing over to a very, very special individual who is joining us all the way live from the Maldives. And we obviously invited him to be a part of the show. Unfortunately, he's in the Maldives right now. But we're going to join the New Zealand ambassador, Your Excellency, Mr. Michael Appleton, who's actually joining us. Mr. Ambassador, good afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much for being a part of the show, and we clearly know what a huge cricket fan you are, and we've seen your tweets almost every 30 seconds when New Zealand is obviously playing, but now obviously in Maldives right now, enjoying the finals tonight.
Yeah, looking forward to watching it tonight. Would have been good to be in Colombo with all the cricket fans there, but had to work here this week, so yeah, watching it in Malé.
You're a big cricket fan, Mr. Ambassador. How did that come about, actually?
Oh, I think it was just one of those things with my father, who's English. He took me to a test match when I was sort of 8 or 9 years old, based on reserve against Australia, and we won, unusually. And ever since then, I've been a massive fan.
Now, today, of course, at the end of the day, it's going to be a new T20 winner. And New Zealand, Australia have been involved in many sporting activities. And just explain the rivalry between New Zealand and Australia comparatively to an India-Pakistan match.
Oh, I mean, I think, any small country that has a large neighbour always wants to beat them on the sports field. You know, that's true of New Zealand and Australia. It's true of in India, obviously Pakistan, India too, and it happens all around the world. But I think with cricket, it's extra special because it's so unusual. You know, over the years, there have been only a very few times, including in the 1980s, when we've been a better cricket team than Australia. And so the opportunity to beat them in a World Cup final was massive and would mean a lot to New Zealand.
Obviously, big match today. And how do you think the run-up to the finals is going to be? I know if I ask you the question who's going to win, you're obviously going to say New Zealand. But how difficult is the Australian team for the New Zealanders for tonight's match?
Oh, look, I think both the Australian and New Zealand teams have performed much better than lots of people, including myself, expected in this tournament. Australia was written off, before this tournament because of their previous series losses in Bangladesh and the West Indies, and before that New Zealand. But they've performed very well, except in their one hiccup against England, and I would expect them to be very strong in the final. It's the same with the Black Caps, that I think everyone assumed that India and Pakistan were the most likely teams in our group to go through to the semi-finals, but the Black Caps managed to step up against a very strong Indian team, and they then surprised everyone with the semi-final victory. So I think both New Zealand and Australia have surprised their fans, surprised everyone that they're in the final, and both of them, I'm sure, will be desperate to convert that into a victory in the tournament.
Mr. Ambassador, we've got Sanath Jayasuriya and Sashikala Sriwardana in the studio. I'm sure you grew up watching Sanath playing, and he's right here. And I don't know if you obviously met each other before, but here's a great opportunity for you to ask him anything you want right now on national TV.
Sir, what was your favourite experience of playing cricket in New Zealand?
My experience in New Zealand started from early 90s, Ambassador. And this is my second tour, and my debut is against New Zealand in Test cricket. I never forget that. I played in Hamilton. So always love to visit New Zealand because they looked after really well as a Sri Lankan cricket team, and the Sri Lankan community also there in New Zealand, and they have been very good to Sri Lanka cricket. So the memory is always the first Test match I played in my life is in New Zealand. So New Zealand is one of the nice place to play cricket, and I enjoyed cricket playing in New Zealand.
And I think he scored the fastest 50 in New Zealand when I think 2006.
Yes.
18 balls or something he hammered in New Zealand. I think you
I don't
know
like to
because you know the
remember that,
statistics
but yes.
well better than me.
I don't like to remember that. Well, actually, my favourite, or one of my favourite test matches in my hometown Wellington involved Sri Lanka, and that was when Aravinda and Martin Crowe both scored the highest test score for their country in that match. I think it was 267 for Aravinda and 299 for Martin Crowe. And this was a very special test match. And I think it was the following tour then that Sri Lanka came and beat New Zealand in a test series for the first time ever. And really, from then on, really impressed the New Zealand public with how strong they had become so quickly in Test cricket. And then, of course, there was the Cricket World Cup victory over Australia, which New Zealanders were so happy with, both for Sri Lanka, but also given who you beat in the final.
Mr. Ambassador, just one final question before we let you go. What would it mean to New Zealand winning the T20 World Cup? They won the Test Championship. They came to the finals of the 50-over World Cup. Now they're in the finals of the T20 World Cup. What would it mean to New Zealand to win this?
It would mean a huge amount. You know, we in our cricket history have seldom been, you know, at or close to the top of the world, and we are there at the moment. It is a golden age in New Zealand cricket, and so I think there are a lot of New Zealand cricket fans who believe, and I certainly believe this, that if we're going to win world titles, it needs to be with this group of players, and to really use this golden age for world championship titles. So it made a huge amount, and I'm sure there are going to be many New Zealanders getting up in the middle of the night tonight. I think the game starts at something like 3:30 a.m. To try and see the Black Caps over the line.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for joining us. It was an absolute privilege to have you on the show, and I think collectively on the panel, I think 90% are supporting New Zealand, so go New Zealand.
Thanks very much for your support. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much. And there you go. That's the New Zealand ambassador to Sri Lanka, Mr. Michael Appleton, on the show with us.